Hello everyone and welcome. I'd just like to quickly say actually thank you for everyone here at the festival for looking after me so well, and also for TV Norge for the sambucas. I really enjoyed them. Thank you very much. Okay, so hopefully my presentation will go up now, one hopes. It's a picture. You haven't come to the wrong thing. Hopefully it will, there we go. That's me. I know, I'm tired, eh? That's me running the London Marathon. And the reason I chose that picture as the first thing to really talk to you about is that if you, in your organization or your production team, you really want to make change happen, you want to start a creative leadership program around new cultures, new behaviors, it's bloody hard work. It's as hard as that. But actually, it's really, really enjoyable. So it's as rewarding as doing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you through, first of all, give you a bit of a kind of overview of what the program is, so you've got a feel for how it's set up. Not because I want you to go and book onto it. Of course, if you do that, I'll be happy. But more so that you can, if you want to replicate it, you can. Because really what I care about, in terms of the job that I do, yes, I head up all of the creative leadership programs at the BBC. This one I'm going to talk to you about is an external-facing and internally-facing one. And I'm going to tell you a story, because that's what I love. So I'm going to tell you some stories today about failure and success. So I'm going to open up to you. I'm going to be honest with you about the things that have happened at the BBC. And my job really as well is I'm a development exec. I've been in development for, I don't know if I should tell you because then you'll know how old I am, but you'll work it out from this anyway. But I have been in development for quite some time. And what I tend to do is work on the big strategic projects now. So I'll be working on the Olympics, Commonwealth Games. If a genre needs to change and reinvent itself, that's generally when I'm brought in to help that team. So that's what I do at the BBC. And I run this. Okay, so I'm going to talk you through different steps. The first one at the top is the opening scene. Where did we all start? Why did we even start doing this at the BBC? Then we're going to go on to talk about the content, what's actually in it. Then my vision, what I decided I wanted this thing to be. And then finally to give you just a little bit of feeling for the outcomes. But I'm going to hurry through this. If you want to find out more about the program, ask me afterwards. Because what I really want to do is show you the content. I want to share with you some of the tools and techniques that we use. So it started in 2010. You see with the marathon, it really was a marathon. It was because the BBC moved 3,500 people to the north of England. Do you guys know about that? It's called BBC North, do you know? And they wanted to be the centre for creative excellence in the north of England. They wanted to be connected to their audiences, and they also wanted to be truly collaborative. So and they have done that, I have to say. They moved gradually over these years, and they have managed to do that. So that's where it all started. The content, there's 3 levels to the leadership program, the creative leadership program. The first level, I bet, is the stuff that you guys have probably already done. But you have to go through all these steps. It doesn't matter how important you are. It doesn't matter if you're the head of the creative director. It doesn't matter. You have to go through these stages of the program. The first stage is creative processes, tools, and techniques. You guys have done these, yeah? So that's the first stage of the program. What we realized was that if you're able to include as many people as possible in your creative work, in your process, in the things that you do, then you're more likely to reach that innovation. You're more likely to make that happen. So this is really about, for me, level 1 is about numbers. Not everyone goes to level 2, and not everyone goes to level 3. But level 1, I am plugging it all the time. I run sessions for the Royal Television Society, for Edinburgh. I'm everywhere because I really want people to go on that level 1 because it's about making sure we have as many people as possible that know those tools and techniques. Level 2 is about leading creative people. Who here runs a team of creative people? Hands up. A lot of you. Who here loves it? But who here finds it a struggle sometimes? You see, I share your pain. That is why the program was set up. Because what we realized was, and actually, do you know what? Believe it or not, they did a study on it. Isn't that fantastic? So it proves what I've seen in this room. A third of leaders find it really hard to motivate innovative people and to get them to work out the practical application of their ideas. So you're not alone. Sharing the pain and the love of it. And the final level is creative culture. This is normally my most senior people go through this. You're going to try level 3 out. I'm going to do a technique with you today. And level 3 is actually, we move away from process and tools. And we go much deeper. We go into your heart. What do you care about? Because we all know, really, that when great innovation happens, it's when we really care. When we want to tell that story that needs to be told. So I'll talk you through a technique I use for that. Okay. I'll skip through that now. So the vision. So just to give you a bit of a feel for the vision. So for me, this is what I wanted this program to be. I want it to be a network of people. I've called them the clan because it's Creative Leadership Network. See what I did? So clever. So yes, it's a network of creative leaders. They collaborate, they help each other. It's really important to say that that is what sold it within the BBC. Because I said to them, I said to the most senior, I said, I will create leaders that can make innovation happen. That can get the idea that no one else will buy into and make it happen. It's about practical strategies and tools. It's for all areas. So it's not just, and I really should say this, the people that go on this program are not just program makers. They're not just TV, radio, online. They are across the board. I've got PR, I've got press, I've got the campaigns team, I've got charities going on it. I've now got an amazing network of people that can help us to come up with ideas and help each other. It is not, it keeps changing. So it's not set in stone. It's changing all the time. And the way that I do that is as a LinkedIn site. So people keep saying, have you read this? Have you looked at that? And that helps me too. So I don't have to read everything. Other people do it for me. Isn't that great? Yeah, they did my job for me. Okay, and I also want to mention someone because he may probably see this online. It's actually a qualification. You get a qualification from Buffalo State, which is New York State University. They are at the forefront of this stuff, and there's a guy called Professor Gerard Puccio. Read his books, they're bloody good. And he really is the master of the theory. What we've done at the BBC is put it into practice. So that's the difference, but we work very closely together. Okay, the outcomes, because I know that some of you want to know, yeah, but you know, what's she done? So it's been a year. It launched in April 2012. It's reached 367 individuals. And about 135 are non-BBC. So it's sort of starting to really take off. But it's me that runs it. It's set up by me. I do all the training, and that's obviously got to change as we go along. We've gone to TV, online, the third sector, so I mean charities and those sort of companies. And we've even had a UN ambassador come on it, which is great. In terms of what we've done, hundreds of creative sessions have come out of it, because for each of the different levels, you've got to do something. You can't just go to another level and go to another level. By the way, the levels are 1 day for level 1, 2 for level 2, and 3 for level 3. So it's not a huge amount of being off the production team in terms of backfill. So we've done that on purpose. It's neat and short and sweet, but there's more work to be done afterwards. And we've gone all over the place. And we've also we actually are measuring creative leadership changes in behavior. So it is quantifiable. Just some words in terms of what people are getting out of it. On the left-hand side, that was from Monster when I came here before Christmas. So they just did level 1. And it's just the creative tools and techniques they use. They really liked applying those. Kate, I don't know if any of you know Kate Phillips. Do you know her? Maybe, maybe not. Kate runs the future formats team. And one of the things around it is you get a kind of leadership profile. You get told what you're like as a creative. so that then you can actually develop your learning according to you. So it's very specific on what you're like. Rianne, that's what I really wanted. So Rianne's now got contacts and friends all over the place that can help her come up with ideas and develop them. And that's Derek. And this is actually the most important point to me. Derek was the UN ambassador. He works across all of Eastern Europe, which, as you can imagine, is quite a difficult region to be working in. And he felt very much that it affected him both on the personal and the professional, because that's really what this is about. It's about deeper change, because that's what creative leadership really is. So now what I'd like to do is change the pace slightly. That's the LinkedIn site. So that's what it looks like. So you can link into me after today, but you can't go onto that until you've done levels 1 and 2. And then you've got a link into all sorts of people across creative industries, and you've got sort of speakers as well that I use. Okay. So I'd like you all, please, to cross your arms. Cross your arms for me. Give me that look. I don't believe you. Now, if you've got a drink, I'd put it down now. If you have a drink, I'd put it down. Don't worry, I'm not going to get you to dance or anything, but if you've got a drink, I'd put it down. So cross your arms, and now what I'd like to do is cross them the other way. I love doing that. Okay, sorry, I'm so childish. Right, okay, so we've covered that. Now, that's what creativity is. That's all it is. You've got a pattern. You cross your arms like that. When I asked you to cross them the other way, it felt strange. The higher up you go, the more you have those patterns, the more you do things a certain way. And the trouble with that is that actually for creativity sense, that's great for your job because you know what you're doing, but in terms of creativity, you're not breaking those patterns, you're not coming up with the new. Because the definitions that we use, and there are many out there actually, but we use this one, it's all about breaking your patterns. We say creativity is the ability to modify self-imposed constraints. What are your self-imposed constraints? I'm going to tell you a story about mine in a minute, when I made a big mistake because I didn't break my pattern. So there actually are, and I'm going to put this up here because we'll keep referring to it. There are 4 stages to the creative process. They're up there now, you won't need this, but you'll need it in a mo. So you clarify, you get your brief, you come up with ideas, you develop the top one, and you implement them. They're universal, we all have them. Those are the stages of the creative process. The key point is that you need to break your patterns. I'm going to ask you to shout out now. Where do you think we tend to think about breaking patterns and coming up with new? Which one of those 4 stages? Which one? Take a wild guess. It's ideate. When we generate ideas, that's where we think we come up with breaking patterns. We force people to think about something else. What else could it be? Actually, you need to break patterns. A creative leader breaks patterns on all of those 4 stages. So let me tell you a really embarrassing story. Don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone, okay? Linda, this is me. So, Linda worked on my big break, and this is when I aged myself. My big break in development was Blue Planet. Did a piece of work. In those days, believe it or not, it's a long time ago, natural history programs weren't doing very well. The audience figures were dipping. We had an audience predominantly male. And they said, Linda, can you help us? I was the first planner at the BBC. Linda, can you help us? Okay. Had a look, thought about it, did a piece of research on animals and plotted them by demographic. All underwater animals were liked by women. Do you like the ladies in the room? Hands up who likes underwater animals. You see? We like underwater animals. So all of Blue Planet was written for women. The music, score, the marketing was heavily targeted at women. So I got given Top Gear. Bless. So Top Gear wasn't doing very well. Again, I'm aging myself. We're talking before my first child. It's quite a while ago, 10 years, thereabouts. So what was my pattern? So for Blue Planet, a male appeal program, I said, let's bring in women. Top Gear, Male appeal program. I know what to do. I've done it before. I went straight to how to increase Top Gear audience. I turned it to how to attract women. It was a pattern. I was crossing my arms and doing it in the same way that I'd managed to do so well before. So, female-friendly graphics. Shall I just show you what I did? Okay. Okay. Does anyone remember that? No. I do. I remember that. So the editor, audiences fell to under 3 million. Clarkson unsurprisingly left. We got Quinton and Kate Humble. And one guy got convicted for drink driving, although that had nothing to do with me. Sambucas aside, I don't drink and drive. Okay, so that's what it turned into. So you can see that's what it turned into. Now, I should say that I did redeem myself because what you see there came from an insight. Who in the room, as a man, as a woman as well actually, closes their eyes possibly on motorways and dares themselves to keep their eyes closed for as long as possible? Is there anyone here? Come on, we're amongst friends. Anyone turn their lights off in country roads? Oh, you see? Thank you. Bless you. Right, okay. Thank goodness. Someone owned up. So we found that. We discovered that. I sent guys out, producers, like Andy Willman and various others, to spend a whole afternoon and night with a guy. That's what we do at the BBC. And they came back with these insights about risk-taking. So it was all around how to give men a roller coaster ride. And obviously the humour and the banter is what makes it what it is. Okay. So that's the story of my pattern. So the key thing really is, in terms of creativity, you've got to break them. And what we do, one of the techniques you can do is just don't do it now, because we can't do it all together here. There's too many of us. But just think about whatever area you're working in, write a circle, and put all the things that you always do. Number of contributors, cameras, tone, everything. Put it in that circle. And that is your pattern. If you want to do something different, you need to think, what else could I do? Take each of those things in turn and think, what else could I do? So that's just one quick way to break your patterns. Okay, so creative leadership. That's what you've come for. You're like, she's talking about creativity. When's the creative leadership bit? It's different. Creative leadership different. That's the quote. Creative leadership is deliberately engaging one's imagination to define and guide a group towards a novel goal. It's all words, but it basically means, I want to go there. Would you like to follow me? That's basically what it means. And why is it important? I mean, I don't know what it's like for you guys, because you're all in different, you're different culture, etc. But at the BBC, we have to. We cannot do things the way we've always done them. We just can't anymore. Our audiences are different. We need to stay relevant to them. My kids don't even watch TV anymore. They watch Minecraft on YouTube. That's what they watch. Or Angry Birds. Thanks, Finland. So things have changed, our audience have changed. There's so much stuff out there that we need to stand out. So we need to do things that really do look completely different. And so for us, creative leadership has been really important, to have those leaders who can take something that no one else believes in and make it happen. Now, I'm going to play you a clip, and I am going to ask for audience participation. So you're going to have to join me now. I'd like you to watch it. And tell me, what did you see happening? Just a word. Just a word. What do you see happening? What things did you see? Okay. Anyone want to dance it? Come on. Okay, what did you see? What did you see? Shout it out. Yep, so a man was dancing alone, and then what happened? Someone joined him, yeah, so he got his first follower. Then what happened? Up there, what happened? Tell me. What happened? That's right, more people joined in. So yes, so you see a change happen. The reason I like to show that is because it's really hard to physically show you a change. And when we talk about creative leadership, we're talking about making change happen. That's really what we're talking about. So what happened there was the first follower comes in. This is called the low nut. So if you ever want to look at it on YouTube, it's called the low nut. And what happens is the first follower comes in, and he changes the low nut into a leader. And the low nut shows him the moves. He's like, no, come here, come here. It's a bit of this, and it's a bit of the hips. Come on, you know. So the second guy goes, oh, yeah. And he replicates those moves. But he does it more simply. And then everyone else starts to come in. So what we talk about in terms of leadership is, creative leadership is, you have to be a low nut sometimes, but think about your first follower, because your first follower is actually the leader. So it's your first follower. So whatever you're doing, think of your job now, and your first follower can be above you. They don't have to be your subordinate. So think about who your followers might be, and think about, are you showing them, are you looking after them? Because that's really who the leaders are. And they replicate things in a way that makes it a lot easier for us. So I'd like you to have a look at these. You don't need to tell me, but I'd like you to just have a look and think about, where are your strengths? So pick one on there that is a strength. Silent. Okay. Then pick another, now you've read them through, that is a weakness. Those are the qualities of a great creative leader. So if you want to improve yourself, this is about you, not about me. I know which mine are. Mine is lives happily with ambiguity. I love clarifying. So sometimes when you're a creative leader, you've got to realize the world is complex. You need to ask people their opinions, and then you can help to make your own. So that's creative leadership. And creative leadership is about environment. It's about what environment you set. That's really what it's about. It's 40 to 70% environment. The Boston Consulting Group did a really big study on this, trust me. It's about environment. So Walt Disney, for example, had a different room, and he behaved totally different in every single room. At the BBC, we don't have the same rooms. We don't even set up a physical room. But what we hope our leaders will do is behave differently at each of those 4 stages, because these 4 stages have very different thinking styles. So you need to be acting differently at each one. So we're going to take the first one about being a visionary leader. So what does a visionary leader do? I'm going to play you something that you all know. And I'd like you to think about what's happening. Again, I will ask for input. You know you can't get away with it with me. Okay, we know that speech, but there's certain things that he does, that Martin Luther King does. Can anyone shout out what sort of things you notice? Come on. Repetition, absolutely. There's repetition. I have a dream. What else does he do? Pardon? Yes, he's creating that vision. You can see you can actually see it, can't you? It's very relevant, yeah. So, I mean, what we do at the BBC is it doesn't matter whether you're a leader, you're in a meeting, but you want to make that change happen. It's big. You know, you want to so you've decided you're a creative leader. You want to make change happen. You have to get your followers behind you. You have to create a vision. And what we use is this technique. We define, refine, and communicate. So define. What's the creative change you want? Where do you want to be? How is it different to now? What's good about it? And how will it motivate that action of the people around you, your followers? So that's the first thing to do, is define. The second thing to do is refine. Now, when we refine, you'll notice the comment about creating that vision. You honestly could see it. You could almost feel it. You want it. And we talk there about engaging the left and right side of the brain. So when you're writing that vision, you use metaphor. You use ways of making people understand where you want to go. And finally, communicate. And this is often the most important because, as we know, body language conveys so much about us. So what we talk about is practicing, sharing it with your peers, but also making sure you're authentic and true to yourself. So don't try to be someone different. If you're normally quiet, then just go slightly above your range. Don't try and be someone completely different. You've got to be authentic. You've got to be authentic, and you've got to believe in it and feel that passion for it. So when we are speaking with our leaders, the other key point we make is to inspire a shared vision, because if they can see it, they believe in it. So let me show you a BBC example, because I know you're probably thinking, yeah, but that's not her work. So this is the Olympics. And I don't know if you can read that there, but I'll read it for you. So this is from Andy Conroy, who's the Chief Operating Officer, who worked on the Olympics. So he said, we outlined our intention to deliver to audiences over 2,000 hours of live sports online via 24 high-definition streams. Every sport, from every location, on every day. But it's not just about choice. In line with our delivering quality first strategy for BBC Online, we plan to make services available across 4 screens: computers, mobiles, tablets, and connected TVs, or, as Ralph Rivera says, on whatever piece of glass you choose. So what, can you see the common? Where's the repetition? Who said repetition? Where's the one on there? So it's where's the repetition bit? And it's hard to read, isn't it? It's the every sport, from every location, on every day. This was before the content was made. So it's important to point that out. This actually was the vision that this team went across the BBC and got all the different program makers. I worked across the board. And this is the vision that they used to inspire a shared vision, because that's what you need to do. You can't go and make the Radio 5 live coverage. You can't go and make the documentaries that Carl did. You know, you can only set the vision, and everyone else can follow it in a different way. Just like that dancing, we all follow it in a different way, and that's the beauty of creative leadership. So I'll just quickly show a film, because let's remember the Olympics. Let's remember the Olympics. I know it's a while ago now, actually, but I thought I'd show you. This is post-rationalization now. So it turned the every sport, from every location, every day, turned into never miss a moment. Okay, that's enough of that. Okay, so inspire a shared vision and actively doing so. So that's the first stage of the creative process. So we stick within that kind of those easy to know steps. All right, the inspirational leader. I'd like you now just to think of 5 barriers to your creativity. Just 5. Think of 5 barriers. Write them on your iPhones. Write them on your iPads, whatever you've got. Just think to yourself 5 barriers to your creativity or the people around you. Give you a couple of minutes. 5 barriers. Now, if you don't join in, I'm going to cry. Okay? So 5 barriers. So, who wants to shout out one of them? Shout it out. Habits. Is that in your control? Can you do something about it? Is it something you have to influence others, or is there no control or influence? Habits, yeah. Money, someone said money. Oh yes, money. Where does that sit? This one? This one, yeah? What else? Tell me more. Hierarchy, yeah. Where would you put that? Is it something, is it in your control? Or is it in your influence? Or can you have no control or influence over it? Could be between influence and no control and influence. Let's put it in the middle then. Thank you for that. Politics, where would you put that? Where would you put that? Here? Influence. Lack of focus, oh yes. Where would that be? Here? Yeah? Perhaps. You're not sure. More in between? I'm getting good at working out, you know. I'm not sure. Okay. Anything else? Anyone got anything else to share? Oh, yes. Negativity. Yeah. Where does that go? You can't see the categories. It's control, so you can do something about it. It's influence. In other words, you need some help from other people, or you just can't do anything about it. There's no control or influence. Influence. So what was it again? Negativity, influence. It's flipped out of my mind then. Okay, so that'll do. That's very good. Thank you for that. Bit of audience participation there. We like that. So the inspirational leader models the way. They model the way. They show everyone else how to stand up and do things, to challenge the system, to do the things that other people won't do. So the stuff that's in your control, a creative leader will just have done that already. They'll have done that already. They already have changed their habits. So we've got habits in there. They will already change that. If you have influence, they will set about influencing. And the next bit we're going to go on is how to influence. How to influence. But they will influence. An inspirational leader will influence. They'll just do it. If something's in your no control or influence, what you can do is to decide to let it go. But if it's too important, we've got hierarchy kind of slightly nudging into that. If it's too important, then one of the things you can do is find who can help you. So are there people outside or in? And I'm going to talk a little bit about that because I'm going to tell you what you'll spot now. Some of you will have spotted that it took me 2 years to make this thing happen. So I had a lot of barriers. So I'm going to talk about my story. But the other thing is you need to think about your followers. You need to put an umbrella up. You need to protect them. If you can't control or influence something, then they're certainly not going to be able to, are they? But how can they be creative? How can they come up with the ideas if they're constantly worrying because you've gone back from those meetings and go, So, you need to think about your behavior to help them. So we say model the way. Model the way. So this is the last one, and we'll have time for questions. The last one is the influential leader. So we're going back. Again, we're always talking about environment. So this is the environment that you're setting, the influential leader. And I'm going to take something from level 3 now, and I'm going to tell you another quick story about what happened to me. So the canny ones amongst you will have worked out, as I said, that it took me 2 years to make this thing happen. And no, I'm not just terribly slow. No, there was a reason. This happened. I love this man, Richard Deverill. He's the COO for BBC North. Unfortunately, he left. He left the project because he didn't want to move to Salford, to Manchester. So he'd commissioned me to do the work. I'd done all the research. I developed something, and I couldn't implement it. I'd lost my main influencer. He was my stakeholder. He was one of my main sponsors. I'd say now, I wouldn't have said that at the time, but he was a kind of a follower because I'd said, this is what we need to do, and he was behind me. But look, he left. He left in April of 2011. So 2010 started the project. 2011 he left. Dear, what was I going to do? So, this is what we do. We keep our heart. Oh, I'm such a loving soul. We keep our heart. In the work that I've done, we realized that actually great leaders, I don't think you can read that in the corner there because it's kind of pixelated, but great leaders have great emotional intelligence, self-awareness, self-regulation, social skills, and inner motivation. You have to find your inner motivation. And what I'd like you to do now is look at all those words. So I've put them into 7 columns. All I want you to do is pick one word in each of those columns. If you want to play along, write it down. If you don't, you can just be part of the fun of it. So pick one word in each of those 7 columns. Nod when you're done, or cross your arms the other way. Yeah, cross your arms the other way. Let me see if you're done. Yeah, we're getting there. Yes, nearly, not quite. Are you ready? These are mine. Okay, so these are the words that really matter to me. Quality of work, family. I'm Italian, of course. Creativity, no surprise there. True to self. True to self. Style and looks, come on, I'm Italian. That's one of the most important things that there is, style and looks. Learning and compassion. What I'd like you to do now is you've got your 7 words. I'd like you to reduce them to just 3. Reduce them to your last 3. And what we say to our leaders is, whatever change you want to have happen, if it doesn't fit with those 3 personal values, then you're unlikely to have the influence and the heart to keep going. So whatever it is you're working on, it could be personal, it could be work-related, whatever it is, if it doesn't match, then you're unlikely to do it. Now, my final 3, the style and looks kind of went out, kicked that out, my last final 3, and it turned out to be compassion, creativity, and learning. And what I did was, the compassion side of me started to do lots of free talks, charity events, all sorts of things. And actually, this program, it didn't get the budget inside to be made. They wouldn't fund it. It's paid for a lot by the work from outside. So what happened was, over the year, I had created something. I could do something with it. I could do some good with it. And that's exactly what I did. So I went out and I talked about what I did, and I got a lot of external work, and that's what's funding it. So it's just for you, sometimes your solution to your creative change won't come from the place you think it is. It comes from your inner passions, your inner belief, what you want to have happen. So that actually concludes, really, the key elements of creativity, creative leadership, and the different elements. So those key points of break your patterns, make change happen, inspire a shared vision, model the way, and finally, you've got to keep your heart. Where's your heart in what you're doing? And that's really where creative leadership lies. So are there any questions? Go on. Hannah's here. She's poised, ready with the mic. Yes, we've got a question at the back. Hiya. Yeah, you're not going to, you'll have to jump. Creative leadership behavior. We use a 360 profiling tool called Leadership Practices Inventory. We do a pre-training and a post-training 6 months later with critical incident interviews. That's how we do it. So it's time-consuming, but actually, it's a proper way of checking because you actually get a feel for how that leader has changed. Yeah, thank you for that. Any other questions? Go on. I dare you. That's me. It's my nickname. No, it's not. Sorry. That was me in a previous life. The horse is actually, we got a designer to design all of my content and my logo and everything. And it actually is my nickname as a child, but he didn't know that. My brother calls me Horsey, because when you pat me, I sound like one. And yeah, you see, I'm showing everything. So yeah, and he just chose the horse. And I think it's this idea of driving change. But I've got trapeze artists as well. I've got all sorts of graphics to delight you when you go on the program. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else? No? Okay, well, all I can say is I'm going to make your head spin a bit now because I just had to put this in. But I wish you luck, and you can cross the line. You can do it. That is me crossing the line. And Richard and I don't know this guy, but we held our hands all the way on the last mile. If it wasn't for him, he's in all my photos. But yeah, I managed it. You see, I finally got there. But, you know, so you can do it. You can do it. So good luck, and I hope to see you again sometime. Thank you.